Yo, what's up internet? My name is Anthony and welcome to Matchup Analysis. I look at the Raiders matchup piece by piece and determine which side has the edge. This week, we have the Giants. Just a heads up, it's very uninspiring on both sides. We start with the Raiders offensive line versus Giants defensive line. Let's go. The Raiders offensive line is starting to show up again. Good in opening holes in the run game, but excellent at protecting the quarterback. This team is completely different if the line plays well again. The Broncos had one of the best defensive fronts in football, and the Raiders held them off. The Giants also have one of the better defensive lines on paper. Jason Pierre-Paul, Olivier Vernon, and Snacks Harrison form as good a trio on the defensive line as you can get. The problem is that hasn't translated to the field this year. They rank 31st against the run and look nothing like the defense from last year. Recent production matters, therefore, the Raiders get the edge. For the running backs, welcome to the Raiders offense, Marshawn Lynch. The Raiders have to have the offense go through Marshawn Lynch, and good things will happen. The complement pieces of Rashard and Washington are good, but Lynch must handle the ball. He looks rejuvenated and is still a pain to bring down. The Giants are struggling in the linebacker core. I think the linebacker struggles have to do more with the defensive line though. Goodson and Casillas had their moments, but they are far too inconsistent. The Raiders have the upside and production with Lynch, so they get the edge. The Raiders receivers are struggling. This is all without knowing the status for Cooper and Crabtree's suspension. They are two extremely talented players, but aren't doing well enough to be good. I'm going to assume that neither can go, so the Raiders have to rely on the three remaining receivers, and it doesn't look good. The Giants' corners, like the rest of the defense, looks better on paper. Jenkins, Rogers-Cromartie, and Eli Apple form one of the best cornerback trios on paper. They have not been playing anywhere near as well as last year. I'm giving the edge to the Giants though. The Giants' corners have more talent, and we just don't know with the Raiders' receivers. For the Raiders' tight ends, they have not been playing well outside of a few games. Jared Cook is a matchup nightmare, but it's more talent than production. He should take advantage of single coverage, but really hasn't. He's been solid overall, but nothing special. The Giants' safeties consist of Landon Collins. In my mind, he's a top 5 safety in the NFL. The rest of the team isn't playing well, and he needs to take the next step. The advantage here goes to the Giants though. Landon Collins is just too good, while Cook hasn't produced much. Now for the quarterback. Derek Carr has thrown touchdowns in consecutive weeks. The problem is, he hasn't played well all season. There's just an overall lack of communication and execution, and Carr is partly to blame. Carr did show signs of becoming Derek Carr that we'll think of last game, but needs to continue playing like that. Steve Spagnuolo's defense is similar to the Raiders' offense, just a lack of execution overall. More importantly, there are sightings of lack of effort. It could be the team, but Spagnuolo's had a history of being a great defensive coordinator. Neither side is playing well, but I'm giving Derek Carr the edge. He's played well at times, while the Giants have just been bad this season. Now for the Raiders' defense and defensive line. They finally got to the quarterback last week. Pagano has Mac lined up in different spots and creating pressure. This line still revolves around Mac being an animal, but the others must contribute. The Giants' offensive line is one of the worst. After being awful the first 2 weeks, Eric Flowers has stepped up. The line still creates no holes in the running game, and pressure can be had. Simply put, neither side is inspiring, but Mac gives the Raiders the edge by himself. In the next uninspiring matchup, we have the Raiders linebackers. Below average through and through. They don't cover well and can be had in the running game. They're not good, but Bowman has put some stability and leadership to the group. The Giants running back group is also uninspiring. It might have to do with the offensive line, but there are just no holes to go through. Darkwa, Vereen, and Gallman haven't really done too much this season. I'm still going to give the Giants the edge here. Darkwa has shown signs of life, and they have the slight talent advantage. For the third bad matchup in the row, we have the Raiders corners. They did well last week statistically, but I think that had much more to do with bad quarterback play. The cornerback group doesn't work well together and were beaten at times last week. They still haven't figured it out. The Giants' wide receiver core is decimated by injuries. Had this game been at the beginning of the season, the Giants would have a monster edge. Instead, I'm still trying to learn the names besides Sterling Shepard. Neither group is great, but at least the Giants have Shepard. He's a solid receiver and gives the Giants the edge. The next matchup is better in that it's average. The Raiders' safeties are not very good. Reggie Nelson in particular gets beat deep and is just too slow. Carl Joseph is amazing in the box, but needs to improve in pass coverage. Overall, not too exciting and can certainly improve. The Giants have rookie Evan Ingram and is the only true explosive threat on offense. He's not going to block anyone, but can be a mismatch up and down the field. The Raiders struggle with tight ends, and Ingram is an athletic freak. The edge here goes to the Giants easy. Defensive coordinator John Pagano got production from the defense. He created pressure and even led to the first interception. I personally think that a lot of it had to do with the Broncos, but he was creative. He disguised the defense and got a shutout for 3 quarters. This defense is still awful though. It improved slightly, but that's really not saying much. The Giants pulled off a shocker. Geno Smith will be starting in place of Eli Manning. Manning hasn't played well, but the offense as a whole lacks talent and is decimated by injuries. I'm guessing they're trying to tank. Geno Smith shows flashes, but is a roller coaster quarterback. One moment he plays amazing, but also certainly makes his mistakes. I'm giving the edge to the Raiders here. The only reason is Pagano has one more game and has more experience overall. In the head coaching matchup, Jack Del Rio never stops believing in his players. Right or wrong, he tells his players to make a play. I don't think he makes the players better than they are, and they don't really have a good scheme. He just inspires and tells his team to win one-on-one matchups. Giants head coach Ben McAdoo might have lost the team. There are whispers about the team quitting on him, and he doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. He appears lost and will likely be fired after this season. The edge here goes to the Raiders. Jack Del Rio still has his team playing hard, and there's no sign of quitting. Truthfully, neither team is playing well. They haven't met expectations at all. The Raiders still have the overall edge here. They are performing slightly better. The Raiders' advantages are big, and they win the more important matchups like quarterback and head coach. Advantage, Raiders.